What is going on, guys? Welcome to Powell Music. Be sure to like and subscribe here on the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when these episodes are coming out. And again, want to say thank you so much for everyone that's subscribed already to the channel. If you haven't, and if you're a fan of music, alternative type music, or just whatever the case may be, if you like the conversations that I have here on the show, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Just trying to build this sucker from the ground up. And again, thank you so much for those who are already subscribed. Really appreciate it. Today I wanted to talk about Carson McWhirter. Now, for those who are not familiar with Carson McWhirter, surprise, he's a guitar player, but I want to explain why Carson McWhirter is a big deal. I'm a huge fan of this artist. I actually had the great liberty and pleasure of interviewing Carson McWhirter. I had a phone interview with him via Zoom. He was on the phone in the Zoom. I had a conversation with him on my podcast for the 440 Guitar Podcast. That is on the J Powell Network. It is on this channel, actually. So after checking out this video, go ahead and check out the audio episode. It's an audio video on the J Powell Network, where I talked to Carson McWhirter and asked him some questions. So please be sure to do that if you're a fan, if you're interested. Really good conversation we had. And also, just as a fun tidbit, I believe I'm currently the only person who has an active interview with Carson McWhirter on the internet. You can challenge me and find something if you can, but I know from the last time when I did interview him, I was the only person to interview him, which is kind of crazy. But again, very humbled. With that being said, very humbled that I do have the honor of interviewing him. I'm a really big fan of his work. So what makes Carson McWhirter a big deal, right? I was first captivated. I know it's a crazy word, but I was first captivated by his playing from The Deadly Light of Margaris, which is on his album, one of his previous albums. And he was in a van. He was in a van. He was playing through this little amp, this super little amp. He had this green guitar that looked like that it was customized. It didn't seem like he was playing. I'm pretty sure he wasn't playing he wasn't playing in standard tuning. It was a very different tuning from my understanding. Very different tuning. But I was in love with how he played. I really fell in love with how he plays, and it was very much kind of like an AABA type format. So it wasn't like a pop notion where you have, I mean, I guess that could be a pop format as well, but it was very much kind of like an energy, a journey when he was playing, right? It wasn't like he was just playing like, a bunch of chords or like 3 chords or whatever and had lyrics. There wasn't any lyrics implied. He was just focused on the guitar, and how he was focused on the guitar really was interesting too. So what he was playing, sorry, a plane's flying over me. What he was playing I thought was really interesting as far as for just the different arpeggios that he was playing. I believe he had a capo on. It sounded very much like a texture of various like Middle Eastern European influences or what have you, but just really neat, really dope alternative type of rock stuff. And he's playing through a van, and he was playing out in a van, and I thought it was awesome. I thought it was fantastic, and I just went down the rabbit hole. So another video was The Watchers, and that's probably the most popular thing. That's probably one of the more popular videos for him, right? Where he has this old school archtop acoustic guitar, and there's like 3 parts to the song, but a great song. Such a great song. So good. And his technique is so different as well. Like he was really focused, in his playing, and then he has kind of like this this kind of muted scale thing in that part of the song, which I thought was really awesome. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out the video. But he does a really good job with tension and release. tension and release, which is essentially music in its entirety, right? But I just appreciate his focus to the art and also his sound. So obviously his sound, not very much not something that I've really have heard from a pop or traditional basis. He just very much an indie underground type of playing, which I am accustomed to, which I like. When I learned guitar, obviously I'm not comparing myself to Carson, but just how I relate to him. When I learned guitar, I was very much on the notion, of wanting to learn scales and everything, not really learn songs though. I wanted to kind of take everything I've learned and then just kind of create my own stuff. And then if I have to do covers, say for money, if I'm doing like a cover band or something or whatever the case may be, I'll do that after the fact. But I was very much focused more so on technique and then creating my own stuff and then covers later. And there's nothing wrong with covers. Some people do great covers, and some people do covers that are not only really well done, but they have a signature to their own style as well, which is, to me, is even better. For example, I always say this. This is just my opinion. For the Beatles, I think they're better songwriters than they are musicians, because you're a hell of a songwriter when someone else covers your music and it's a better song, but it's your writing. So I think that's it's always been my theory. I've mentioned that on the show maybe a couple of times, or the channel a couple of times. But so again, sound, how he plays guitar, and just and then there's his overall musical approach. Check out the video where I interview Carson, but he briefly explains just kind of the how he approaches music in such a almost like a spiritual essence, where he's not really focused on playing guitar. He's focused just kind of maybe the energy getting to it, or just the staying true to the sound that's trying to be conveyed, not necessarily the technical aspects as far as like, oh man, I got to make sure I pick this part right before I go to this next part, or up the fretboard, or whatever the case may be, or he's really trying to take himself out of the equation of this technical aspect of the music, but kind of just like being one in a sense. So very much kind of a spiritual connection. He kind of briefly talks about that as far as his approach to music. If I do get another interview with him, I would love for him to extrapolate on that point, because I think that's something that can be, can have a decent conversation about. And then just overall his music in general. Music in general is great. He's a really great track record. He did some music with quite a few bands. His recent one is Chant O's, if I'm not mistaken. He plays keyboard, plays piano, and his music is on Bandcamp, so definitely buy it, check it out. He was a part of Crime and Choir, I believe, at one point in time. The original album for Crime and Choir is really hard to find. I just have a couple of tracks. I'm not sure how I found them online, but I have them. Some really good songs. There's a song called A Girl Named Jesus, which is really good. It's the first Crime and Choir album, if I'm not mistaken. But I believe he was a part of that. I think he played bass. I don't think he played guitar on that. He was a part of Hella at one point in time. So, I mean, he was a part of a band called The Advantage back in the day. So, also Hoatua, he was a part of. It's one of the more recent bands he's a part of before Chant O's. But yeah, I'm just such a big fan of Carson McWhirter and his style. Just his approach is very much just kind of doing his own thing in a sense. And it's almost kind of similar to like a Frank Zappa thing, where he is, he's more so just focused on himself in a sense. So, let me give you guys this information too. You guys might know this. I'm not 100% sure. I had a really interesting interaction too. I don't know if Carson was okay for me to say this, but I'll mention it here just because it's a channel. And I don't think I'm saying anything foul anyway. But I'll say this one thing and then I'll say the other thing. So the first thing, the album that I highly recommend, if you say, Jarrell, if you want me to get more acclaim to Carson McWhirter, what album should I check out? Check out the album on his Bandcamp, and the acronyms are SNDLPVN. SNDLPVN. It's like a yellow, it's like a yellow textured type of cover art. And the actual title of the name, or the meaning of those acronyms, or the acronym, it's a title is a obscurification of the name of the archangel Sandalphon. So that is the writing behind the rhyme there. So yeah, very, very interesting. The other thing that I was going to mention, that I don't know if he's okay with me, okay with me talking about, and hopefully she doesn't find anything negative about this as well. Let me just get straight to it. So it was interesting. Carson McWhirter's ex reached out to me through the 440 Guitar Podcast. Because I was talking about, hey, where's Carson McWhirter? And this was a few years ago. I was like, yo, where's Carson McWhirter? I haven't heard from him in so long. I'm a huge fan. Like, what's going on? Right. And I did that video a while ago. And 3 years ago, October 6th of 2020, his ex actually reached out, which I thought to be very interesting. And the title behind that SNDLPVN, I found out from her through this. I'll read a part of this. I won't read all of it because some of it is a little, it's too personal, but I thought it was interesting. She reached out and said, hello, I'm Carson's ex. I was out hunting for him today. Came across your podcast. We were together when he recorded SNDLPVN. The title is an obscurification of the name of the archangel Sandalphon. When I started training in opera toward the end of our relationship, one day, I won't read that. And I guess she has some music as well. But she said, I'm looking for Carson now because our shared spiritual experience has been coming full circle. I'd like to fill him in. She says, I haven't heard from him, I don't know, 2 years. She said, like most obscure artists, he wouldn't actually probably love a tour if he could get a decent contract. Said he hasn't made a decent income off of music alone, only partner with Hella and anything. Zach Hill, I share a similar fate. So I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was a really interesting email that was sent to me. I was like, what? I was like, Carson McWhirter's ex reached out and she listened to the podcast. But again, I do appreciate you reaching out. Who emailed that? I won't give out the name too, just trying to be respectful. I do appreciate the reach out as well. I just thought that was very interesting, and for just fans to have a more connecting of the dots of where's Carson McWhirter, right? But like I said, this was before the actual interview for the Carson McWhirter show for the 440 Guitar Podcast, part of the Powell Network. Check out that video afterwards. But yeah, I'm a huge fan. And I hope to speak to him again very soon. To have another conversation with him, hoping that can be the case, most definitely. And yeah, I just love his stuff. If you are a fan, leave in the comments. Tell me what's some of your favorite stuff from Carson McWhirter. If you share the same type of interest, and yeah, I'm just going to end the video because I know I'm rambling off here at this point. But again, thanks so much for watching the content. Really appreciate it. Like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell when you can. And yeah, thanks so much. I will see you guys next video.